Hi everyone, thanks for joining us again. My name is Dalton. This is Gary. You are here at Hunt for Peace. We appreciate all of you guys for coming and having a chat with us today. Just so everyone knows, we are going to talk about some sensitive stuff, so trigger warnings here. There will be discussions of suicide, self-harm, depression, PTSD, other mental illnesses, and things of that nature. So if you have a sensitivity to any of that, by all means, go ahead and pull out now. If you are experiencing an emergency, however, dial 988. They're here for you. They can help you. Neither of us are mental health professionals, but we do what we can to help reach out to anyone that does kind of need some help. So if anyone listening or watching this needs help, needs someone to talk to, by any means, reach out to us at any point in time, and we'll do whatever we can to point you in the right direction, or we'll just be here so you have someone to talk to. Today is actually also a special day, but today we're going to kind of just start with kind of just a broad outscope on what kind of leads to suicide, the different things that people go through, things that we have went through personally in our lives, and just kind of see where it takes us from there.
You know, tonight, Dalton, I think we should just call this real talk. Just two boys sitting on a couch, just having real talk. So welcome to the boys club tonight. Girls, go ahead and listen.
You're welcome as well.
You're welcome to join
What we're
the
going to
room.
talk about affects everyone. You're just going to get it from a male perspective. So if you have someone, a friend, a family member, anything like that, who is a male that is struggling, this might kind of give you an insight into the way that their brain works, how they process, how they feel. Everyone's a little bit different, but male and female emotions are very different. So there might be some comparable grounds that we walk and that we ride upon that might be easier for you to relate to someone that you love who is struggling. On the subject of that, let's just go straight into the heart and the nitty-gritty of it. Have you ever considered suicide?
Oh, absolutely.
What were kind of the stemming factors to that?
You know, it's everything that we go through as people through life, Dalton. I mean, it could start, and I won't speak in general terms just so I can cover a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have had a terrible childhood, you know, and a lot of child trauma is probably one of the worst traumas you can go through, because as a child, you don't understand what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And there's no way for you to wrap a child's brain around why did, you know, a parent treat me that way. I mean, children look up to their parents like, man, this is my guardian, this is my protector, the one's supposed to love me. But unfortunately, you know, for some people, it starts very young in age, you know, and they miss the connection that needed to be made with their parents. And as you get older, you know, believe it or not, that hangs with you. So, go ahead.
Now, as someone who has childhood trauma, but is not parentally based, and I think you were kind of moving in this direction, what is that like as an adult? What is it like to get in the position and the mindset to actually start processing not only what you went through, but the potential salvaging of that relationship now that you truly understand what happened and what you were put through?
Well, the good news as we grow as adults, we do learn coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. We learn things that help us better. We learn how to think about it. You know, as a child, you don't have all the information you need to think about it. It's like me asking a 6-year-old to do calculus. Mm-hmm. They're not going to get it because their brain's not you know, developed enough to get to that level in their life. So, you know, you can start to make peace. I had a friend of mine that didn't admit something that happened to him until he was in his 40s. You know, he carried that for a long time, and, you know, we got to talking about it, and, you know, it hurt him in relationships. You know, his was, you know, a lot of abandonment issues. Mm-hmm. So when something in his relationship made him feel abandoned, it took him back to that childhood, and then that's all he knew to act. So, I mean, and of course, the other side, who never felt abandonment issues, really didn't understand what he was going through. Mm-hmm. So it made it very difficult for him to, you know, go through that. as an adult, because unfortunately he was unable to deal with it as a child. So he did finally, and I encourage everyone, some stuff in your life, you need professional help. It's out there. It's everywhere. I mean, there's, if you can afford it. When it comes to counseling, I know a lot of people have a stigma. It costs a whole lot of money, but there's actually a lot of organizations out there that will, some do it free. Mm-hmm. Some base it off your income. So there's really no longer an excuse not to go figure it out.
Absolutely.
You have to go back into your childhood, step in there, and they'll help, as they did for my friend, walk them through everything. And, and now he's better. He doesn't have abandonment issues. He's got a beautiful wife, family.
Awesome.
So, and it's not just, there's all kinds of things. There's kids that unfortunately, are abused. There's kids that are, sexually molested. There are the kids that feel like they got abandoned.
See, mine was a half sibling who was much older than my brother and I. We were 5 and 7, 6 and 8, somewhere around there, very young. He was 17, 18. And my parents were at work one day, and he came home from doing whatever he was doing with his buddies. I definitely believe that he was under the influence of something when it happened. What, I don't know. But he came home and he beat my brother and I. And that was something, for me personally, it caused a lot of self-image issues. And it really wasn't until I was high school when I really kind of started coming into my own and realizing that didn't define who I was. I wasn't a weenie because of that. And I'm trying to be very careful with my language. You wasn't that bad
child that you thought you were.
And it wasn't even the bad child. It made me feel like I couldn't fight back. For so long, I felt like I couldn't fight back, because then in that moment I tried and it didn't matter.
So basically in that moment, if I hear you correctly, I felt like all you learned was fear.
A very large part of it was fear, the fear to fight back, the fear to stand up for myself, because the only really thing I had to go back to was the inability to do so. No matter what I did, as a grown man and I was a child, there was nothing I could do. I tried, and it just made it worse.
Now who was this to you?
My half-brother, half-sibling. I've not spoken to him since. I had no desire to ever speak to him again.
And how much older than?
I would have been either 5 or 6 when it happened, and he was 17 or 18.
Okay, so, and that's rough.
Mm-hmm.
But, and again, you probably built a relationship with this guy.
At that point in time, yeah, I looked up to him.
And you saw him as a protector, mm-hmm. as a guardian, and for someone that's supposed to have your back, do this to you, that must have been just...
It was, and I guess I say I didn't really understand the parental trauma of it, but in a sense, I guess kind of, because with such an age gap, it almost felt like another parent. Mm-hmm. Like he would watch me and my brother just like my parents would. He would be there when they were at work. So it was almost kind of that parental style figure, and it was very, very hard to realize kind of within myself that I wasn't trapped, I wasn't stuck in fear, I could fight back, I could stand up for myself. I didn't have to just take being bullied, because that's really where it really took over. I was always a big kid, and I got bullied for it, and I always felt scared to stand up for myself in that moment because of that event. And there was an impromptu kind of physical altercation that I got into, and without really thinking, I stood up for myself, defended myself, and then afterwards I just kind of took a step back and was like, I just did that. Like, I'm okay. Like, I don't have to be afraid. Like, there's nothing for me to be afraid of. And I feel like I got lucky in the sense of I found solace in the event very early. Kind of how you were speaking back to, there's people who don't even admit what happened to them until they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, much less find a way to deal with it and move past it. So in that aspect of it, I feel like I was very lucky to be able to conquer that demon at a young age, just because most people don't have that ability or opportunity or whatever it is that they need to overcome that childhood trauma.
Right, and I think sometimes, and I've been guilty myself, that the things that happen to us, we try to make that our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that happen to you does not define your identity.
Absolutely not.
The kind of person you are, that's what defines your identity.
And especially we're all people. We're growing every day. We're changing every day. We're experiencing new things every day. It's never set in stone as to who we are. We're changing every day. I'm not the same person I was a week ago. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. None of us are. We're going to go through events and we're going to have experiences in life that are going to change our outlook. They're going to affect our faith. They're going to affect every different little aspect and change the things that we do every day, change the way that we react to things. So, I mean, you're never stuck in this bubble of who you feel your trauma or your experiences have made you have to be defined as. We're ever growing, we're ever changing, we're ever evolving. And that just comes along with it. It's truly embracing that change and not just getting stuck in, this is who I am, this super bad thing happened to me, this is who I am forever now. Yes, you will always carry that experience with you, but it does not always have to define who you are.
Right. And I get that because, as you pointed out earlier, what I thought was important to me in my 20s at 65, I just don't find important. And no, I'm not 65. Close. So, and that's, and that can be, what you went through, happened to you one time.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, it happens to more and
Absolutely.
more, and it's constant, and you don't understand it. And that in itself could leave you feeling like, you're worthless. No one cares. The place that you're supposed to be comfortable at, your home, you can't ever get comfortable. And that is, as our organization here, that is something that can lead to suicidal thoughts. I don't believe, every time you go to the doctor, they ask you that question. Have you thought about killing yourself? Well, I think it's a silly question because I don't think there's a human on this planet that has not thought the world would be better off without them.
Absolutely.
We all have
at
that
some
thought.
point in time.
It's actually a normal thought to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you do after the thought defines, that because, you're going to have that thought that the world would be better off without you. If I just do it, I can get this pain out of my life. There's probably others that are slipping my mind at the moment. But the point is, he asked me the question earlier, have I ever considered it? Yes. But I stayed patient. I fought through it. I kept going. And then finally, those feelings of wanting not to be here went away. So it's just a matter of persevering through it. We all enter this world with survival mode. We all want to survive. I mean, it's natural. So if you can just hang in there, let your survival mode kick in, you're going to be okay because, there's nothing worse than, as for my son, the loss.
And it doesn't work for everyone. I'll preface with that. It has worked very well for me. I as well have had ideations, thoughts, the want to. My anchor has always been my family and the people I love. Not from a selfish point of view, but not being able to put them through the pain and the loss that we all recently experienced with Hunter. And that really reiterated it for me, because that's always been my anchor in my thought process, but I've never until that truly seen the lasting effects of it and how that truly does affect the people that love and care about you. Seeing what I went through, seeing what you went through, seeing what Chamberlain went through, seeing the way the effect that had on all the people that he touched reiterated everything that I always told myself of, I can't put them through that. Like, regardless how bad in that moment I don't want to be here, or I feel like I shouldn't be here, or whatever the case may be, I always came back to dealing with whatever I'm dealing with now, to me, is better than them having to deal with my loss. And again, anchors don't work for everyone, but if you are that kind of person, I can say that has worked for me. If you're kind of at a loss, not sure what to do next, for one, please dial 988, but also look for an anchor. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be a place. It can be an activity. It can be a job, whatever it is, just something that you can hold on to until the storm passes. And I know that's a very overused phrase, but it's true. The storm will pass. It will get better. It may take time. Everyone's situations and experiences are different, but time is the hardest thing to deal with in this type of a situation, but it is also your best friend, because it is the only thing that is going to get you through it and get you past it is time.
It's true. It is time, I think the best thing just tell the crowd out there, the best thing that I've ever done. And since that, I signed up and I'm going through grief counseling, and best decision.
See, I went through counseling for a little while afterwards as well. It'll probably be something that in time I kind of venture back into. I 100% support counseling in any type of a manner. And that's the thing, kind of speaking back to where he spoke and adding on to it. It's so accessible these days. You don't have to go in person. You can do it via video. You can do it via phone call, which are also cheaper options for anyone who financially is being prevented from seeking counseling. There are a lot more options out there than there used to be. So absolutely, I recommend any and everyone, even if you're not thinking about suicide, everyone has had some sort of experience or something that they could benefit from just talking about it, just sitting down and just letting everything go. It's a hard world. It's a stressful world. It's a world that is, no matter how strong or smart or savvy you are, it's going to chew you up and it's going to spit you out.
In Dalton, this may be a misconception, but, and I'm sorry, ladies, if it is, but I always felt like women have the ability to talk it out amongst themselves and not be embarrassed. But for men, I can't tell my best bro I'm going through this. He'll look at me like I'm weak. So the reason I say that, because you can go to your counselor. And when you're picking a counselor, be honest on the form who you like to talk to. I had another friend that she was a young lady. Her counselor was an older lady. Well, they didn't make a connection. It's so important. So if you go see a counselor and you don't like them, great, go find somebody else. You don't have to be one and done. So find the one that you can connect with, you can talk to, you feel comfortable with. I got really lucky on mine. It's very amazing. We connect hundreds of areas of my life, not just with with dealing with the loss.
And I feel like that was my biggest thing for why I stopped when I did, was I didn't have that connection or that relatability. The things that I was kind of needing help with were very rare circumstances and not something that just anyone is going to have experience with. And I feel like that was kind of the downfall with mine. I enjoyed sitting down with that individual. I enjoyed talking with that individual. That individual helped me a lot. I have no ill will towards that person or the manner in which they do things. It was just strictly what I was going through at that time needed a different perspective.
Right, and that's true, because and one of the things, first thing my counselor told me, she said, we don't fit, we'll get you somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're open and honest about it too, because they want to help. And back to the moral of the story here, if you don't have the ability to say, this is silly, I don't want to do this, I know why I'm thinking about it. And sometimes you don't know why you're thinking about it. You just feel so lost that you don't know which direction to go. Just to sum up, kind of what we're talking about now. If you're feeling suicidal, and you're right there and you cannot stop yourself, at least call somebody. I don't care who it is. Call them. I guarantee you whatever friend you have will come hold your hand. I guarantee it.
Mother, brother, friend, sister, 911, 988, it doesn't matter. Call someone. And that's something that at Hunter's Memorial, I actually stood up and voiced to a room of people, some who which I'm very close with, some of which it's the first time that I've ever met them. But I stood up in front of that room and I told every single one of them, if you need to talk to someone, you can call me. Someone that you know in this room has my phone number. I don't care if it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. If you are at that point, call me. If we need to go get a coffee, I will get up, I will put clothes on, and I will go meet you for coffee. There's no situation where someone who cares about you is going to be inconvenienced by you making that phone call. On the subject of that, you are not an inconvenience. You as a human being listening to this, regardless of your situation, your upbringing, your family life, it doesn't matter. You are not an inconvenience. Make that phone call. Please make that phone call.
Because I believe people that are listening to our podcast are listening for 2 reasons. 1, they want to help somebody. 2, they need help for themselves.
Absolutely.
So I can't think of a third category. There probably could be, but for the most part of our audience, that's probably true. We started Hunt for Peace because we really want to help. We really want to make a difference. We would like to see suicide stopped. It's a leading cause of death in certain areas and age factors and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a real epidemic now, and it's something that just needs to stop.
I'm going to caveat off of that, but before I get to, I'm going to jump back a little bit. For the people who want to help someone else that are listening, don't be afraid to reach out first. Because when someone is at that point, they are going to have a very hard time reaching out. And you reaching out could be a deciding factor for them. And when you see them, they could smile like they used to. They could laugh like they used to. They could converse like they used to. I know that from firsthand experience. Reach out more. Tell that person you miss them. Show them you care about them. Give them a reason not to. Because some people, they'll get to that point where that is what they're searching for every day, is just a reason not to. So if you can put yourself in a position to be someone's reason not to in that moment, it could mean a lot more than you think it would, to simply just reach out and strike up a conversation.
Well, Dalton, I'm going to jump in right there. I've been watching some training videos on this, actually from the state of Texas, and they said something that you really ought to do is just look at the person and say, are you thinking about suicide? Because the word in itself is taboo, something you don't talk about, but just straight up ask them, because once you ask them that question,
they can't hide it anymore.
Well, then they're like the elephant's out of the room.
Yeah, I don't have to be the one to say I'm thinking about suicide.
Yes, so now you've opened up the biggest door that you can ever open. So just ask them, hey, are you feeling suicidal? And they're going to feel like subconsciously that, oh my goodness, this person asked me this question, knows that I'm suicidal. and now they feel like they don't have a choice but to open up.
Mm-hmm.
And, today we discussed, a little bit about Dalton. We discussed a friend of mine. Now y'all know a little bit about me. I haven't gone over all the reasons that put me in that hole. There's a bunch. One day I may be brave enough to let you all know. It's kind of scary. I mean, even if you're talking about suicide to your best friend, it's kind of scary. But what I would like to do is maybe later on we do another episode of this, because, there's a lot to my story. And there's a lot to all your stories. And number one, I want to tell you something about stories. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. Your story is beautiful. It's your story. I love hearing people's stories. And, man, I encourage you, if you want to tell me your story, drop it in the subject line. I promise you I'll read it, because you guys every person has the most beautiful story out there. Whether you think it's boring or not. I mean, your stories are beautiful. Your legacies are created from your stories. Legacies are important. We're all trying to leave a good legacy in our life.
And like he said, drop it down below, or we are starting to really expand out and venture into more podcast guests. So if you do have a story, which everyone does, and it's something that you would like to share, whether it's something that happened to you, someone you love, someone you care about, whatever, absolutely reach out to us. We do have kind of a form that we can send over to you, see if we're kind of the right fit for that, and we're absolutely interested in bringing more people on to share their stories, because along with what he's saying, that's where you get the relatability. And that's why we really wanted to kind of pull back the reins with this episode, and instead of staying super scripted and on tack with the subject, just sit here as, like he said, two boys just talking, sharing our stories, sharing our experiences, giving people some sort of sense of relatability. And anytime that you can put your story out there, even if it relates to one person and helps one more person, that to me is absolutely worth whatever it takes to tell that story.
Solid gold.
So reach out to us anytime, anyone, anywhere. Even if you're not local, we can find a way to make it work. So don't be afraid to reach out to us at any point.
Yeah, and and the stories that we really like to hear is how, you won over suicide, and how'd you do it? Because that story is going to help somebody else.
Absolutely.
Or if you've lost someone to suicide, and how you were able to move through life the best you could after that.
Absolutely.
We've met a lot of beautiful people that have done amazing things since the loss to suicide in their family, and I'm sure we're going to hear thousands more.
Absolutely. With that being said, thank you all for listening to us. Like he said, we will absolutely sit down and we will do this again, probably multiple more times, just because 20, 30 minutes is not a lot of time to tell your life story or to really just let everything out there. So we will definitely just kind of sit down and have one of these conversations at least one more time, probably a few.
And I did not expect that question from you tonight. So he did throw me off a little bit. I mean, this wasn't scripted tonight.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah, let's just let it flow.
With that being said, thank you all for listening. More importantly, if you are listening to this, or if someone that you love or care about is going through, this is something that you can express to them. You matter. You are not alone. And you are loved. We are Hunt for Peace. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.